Stay connected to gratitude. Hit the follow button right now and join thousands of listeners tuning in each week. We're the Gratitude Seekers. Come join us. Hi, Gratitude Seeker. Welcome to a new episode of the Gratitude Podcast. Our guest today creates positive songs for kids and adults that uplift, heal, and inspire. She's originally from Canada, but now she's living in Brazil with her husband and 2 sons. She started writing songs in 2016 when her children were 2 and 4, and she was inspired to create positive, empowering music that would help her sons love and believe in themselves. Since then, she has been heard and loved by many families around the world because she shared her music with the world on YouTube. And that's how I found her as well. She has many amazing songs, and one of them has gotten to my heart. And when I heard it, it was so amazing because I felt that the words for the song were just perfect, just the way I would have created them based on the experience that I've gained doing the Gratitude Podcast.
The best way to start each day is with a grateful heart. As you wake up in your bed, as you lift your beautiful head, think of something, somewhere, or someone you love, and say thank you.
So I'm really excited to have here with me Lindsay Muller. Welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So let's know a little bit more about you, where you are right now.
Yeah, so as you said, I'm from Canada, but I have been living in Brazil for 8 years. And I work and live as a musician. I do all kinds of different musical things, but I feel like my main thing is to write and record and release positive songs that really help people to feel better, to love themselves, to believe in themselves, and to really appreciate all the blessings that we have in life. So yeah, I'm also a mom and love my 2 boys so much. Now they're 8 and 10. And it's really beautiful to just grow together as our family.
Amazing. I absolutely love the fact that you chose this kind of music. I think music has such a great power because I'm sure that it's been an experience that's been shared by us all, by our listeners, by you. There are certain songs that we repeat in our head on and on because we love the melody, we love maybe the lyrics, and maybe we just heard them so many times that even when they're not there, we still hear them in our head.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this on the podcast, and I think it's so important for us to choose the songs as much as possible, because there are certain songs that we hear all the time on the radio or in different places where we go, but listening or finding songs that are actually uplifting, that actually take us in a positive direction is so impactful, because like I said, they stay with us and we tend to repeat them in our head. And like affirmations, if we repeat positive ones, we get certain results positive results. If we just repeat negative ones, of course, we have results that we might not want in our life. So I'm really curious how you got to create this kind of music.
Yeah, that's just 100% true what you said, and something that I think about a lot. And so my journey to this point, so when I was a young mother, I started to explore self-love and affirmations. And I don't even remember exactly how it happened. Although I do remember that I was tired of all of the negative self-talk that I had been repeating to myself for years and years. And I had this mindset that I was ugly, that I wasn't good enough to do, whatever I wanted to do. I never thought that I could be a musician or write songs or, do that as a job. I never, ever thought, that was for people who were like really, really good or something like that. And so I was really tired of like every time I looked in the mirror and every time that I saw a photograph of myself, I would just think like, oh, you're so ugly. You're so, you don't look like this. And I didn't really realize that I could stop that. Like I thought it was just an automatic thing. And then when I started learning about self-love and affirmations, I realized, oh my gosh, I can rewire my brain so that I don't think those things anymore and that I believe good things about myself. And so I started to say positive affirmations, and over time and consistency, I really did change a lot of beliefs about myself. And I saw how powerful that was. And I experienced how much lighter I felt and happier I felt. And I wanted that for my kids too. And I also realized that, it's hard for us as adults to rewire, but it's easy to wire kids because they don't have all of the preconceived things that adults have. They don't have years and years of people and media telling them they need this to look beautiful. They need to have this kind of body, blah, blah, blah. And so I wanted to put the idea of self-love and affirmations and, believing in yourself into their minds from the beginning so they wouldn't have to do what most people need to do, what I needed to do as an adult, which was to change those beliefs. So I decided to write down this list of positive affirmations that I would read to my kids every night, because during the day I was like really stressed. My kids had a lot of energy. And I was always saying like negative things to them, like, don't do that. Stop hitting your brother. And I realized, wow, I really want to make sure I'm saying positive things to my kids because these years are so important. They're so formative. So that's when I had the idea to write down the list of positive affirmations that I would read to them every night. So I would make sure every day I was saying something positive to them, even if I had forgotten the whole day to say anything positive. At least at the end of the day, I would have this time where I would say these affirmations. And I'm in my nerdish way, I was like, okay, how am I going to remember these? Because I could write them down on a piece of paper, but what if the piece of paper gets lost? So I decided to make 1 or 2 affirmations for every letter of the alphabet, because I remembered from school and experience that when you kind of have a structure to something, it's easier to remember. So that's what I did. I wrote down the letters of the alphabet, and then I just was like, okay, what affirmations can I make up for each of these letters? And then I would read it to them every night. And since I am a musical person, even though at that point I didn't consider myself to be a musician or a songwriter, it just kind of turned into a song. A little tune developed as I was reading it to them. And then I was like, wow, this is a song now. And so it's called You Are Amazing. And so the first verse of the song is, oh, you are amazing. I believe in you. And it's me speaking to my kids. And then I made another verse, which turn the affirmations into I am statements, which are even more powerful. And then that was the verse for me. And to, both to help myself, but also to help my kids, because now I'm modeling saying the affirmations to myself, which then they can hopefully pick up. So, it just turned into this big, great, powerful song. And I decided, and at this moment of my life, I was recording my first album. And I recorded an album because I wanted to have a record of the songs that I liked to sing to my kids. And they were all like songs that I knew when I was a child and that I liked. And there was nothing original. But since I was recording this album and then I wrote this song, I was like, okay, I'm going to, include this song on the album. And then I just kind of realized, wow, this is my purpose and my passion, and this is what I'm going to call the whole album. And then it just kind of became my philosophy for everything, for life, for parenting, for music. That's kind of how I got started with writing positive songs. And I realized, wow, there's so much power in music, because just like you said, when we hear a song and we like it, then it can get stuck in our heads. And imagine you have a song stuck in your head that's filled with negative words or just kind of neutral words. And then imagine that you have a song stuck in your head filled with positive things. Like, that's going to affect you positively so much more. And so I realized, like, wow, there's a lot of power in this. And it helps you to remember the words. Like, if you consider a poem and you consider a song, like, which one do you think you're going to be able to memorize more easily? It's going to be the song. I mean, maybe it's different for everyone, but I think generally people have an easier time remembering words to songs. Everyone remembers Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Like, I'm sure they remember all the words to that song, like, throughout their whole life, because it's just like, it's a song. There's something magical about music that helps you to remember. So, I just realized the power, and I was like, okay, this is my purpose, and this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I never stopped after that.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm really happy that you chose to do this, and you chose to go on this journey. And I think that's a beautiful thing. The fact that you wanted to balance things out. You became aware of the fact that you wanted to give your kids a different perspective on life, not just the boundaries that they need to learn, but also the beautiful parts about them. And in this, you were actually you went on this journey with them, and for that to happen, you had to go on the journey yourself. And I think this is something really beautiful, that motivated by your kids, it actually helped you quite a lot to grow. I think it's a
exactly
really wonderful thing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it makes me so happy every time I think about it.
Yeah, and the fact that you chose to share this with the world, because I'm sure that many people in the past, and maybe even nowadays, do such things for their children, but don't feel inspired to share them, to give them to the world as well. And I think that's amazing, and it just makes it even more powerful, because that's what I believe affirmations help us with quite a lot, is realizing our worth, the worth of what we are doing, and what we can bring to the world, what we can gift the world with. And I think it's wonderful that you chose to do this, and that that you're sharing the gratitude. And by the way,
Mm.
how did the gratitude song, um, the, the Grateful Heart, come
Mm.
to fruition?
Yeah, that's a really cool story too. So in the beginning of 2020, um, a friend of mine, online music therapist friend, reached out to me and she said, I have this idea for a songwriting challenge, and you're the first person I thought of. And let's each think of 5 song names, and I'm going to put them into a hat, and then I'm going to draw one out, and then we're both going to write a song with that name. And I had been wanting to write a song about gratitude, and I just thought the title Grateful Heart sounded like a good name for a song. And it's something that, I had been experiencing, and, all the good feelings that having a grateful heart brought to me. And so that was one of the names that I wrote down, and I don't remember the other ones, but that's the one that she drew out of the hat. And so I spent 1 or 2 days coming up with the words and the tune and the music of it. And it just all flowed so well. And I think I just started writing the first line of the song. The best way to start each day is with a grateful heart, because that's been my experience. And then just the rest of it just kind of came out. I feel like when I write songs, it comes from my experience, but I also open myself up to be a channel for whatever the universe wants to bring through me. I feel like it's a kind of a co-creation. And so all the words just came out about starting the day with a grateful heart, living the day with a grateful heart, and ending the day with a grateful heart. It just all, yeah, it was fun to write. And so we presented the songs to each other. She wrote her own version. And then I was in the midst of recording my second album. And so that went on the second album. And just like with You Are Amazing, the first song that I wrote, I had no idea how it would be received by people. Now, both of those songs are my most popular songs, but in the beginning, you just have no idea. And now so many people are telling me how, it's touched them and healed them. And it's such an amazing blessing to hear that. So that's the story of how it was created.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And like I said, I really resonate with the words, but also I find it like in the first moments when I heard it, it immediately got me from my head to my heart, And nowadays, at least for me, it's a bit harder to do this. Like I tend to be quite a lot in my head, in my mind. And I really appreciate it when I have an experience like this, when I get back to my heart and just to that feeling, knowing that everything is gonna be all right, and I don't have to think about everything and sort everything out. And I think it's one of those important things in life, and um, that's why I loved it so much. It's actually one of the reasons, because there are quite a few, because it does that to you. And like I said, from the first seconds, it helps you connect with your heart. And that's why I wanted to recommend it on the podcast as well to our listeners, because I believe nowadays it's so important to be able to do that, because otherwise you might go crazy a bit with all of the things happening in the world.
Yes. And that's something that is not really taught to us.
Yeah.
I think it is more these days with books like The Power of Now and things like that. But in general, we're not taught to just take a moment and be present and be grateful for all that we have. So yeah, I'm happy that my song can help with that, and I hope that it helps many, many people.
Most definitely. Most definitely. And another part that I love about the song is that it also connects with at least my inner child, you know?
Mm,
Like I really feel somehow that it speaks to him.
mm,
And it's so wonderful, you know, like the way you sing it, you can feel that it's for a child, but
yeah,
you also feel it as an adult.
yeah,
But it's so beautiful that it gets in there, you know. And
yeah.
yeah, that's a wonderful.
It's so great to hear that. Because
Yeah,
yeah, I did write it for children. Like when I write my songs, I write them in a way that it will be easy for a child to understand. But like you said, like we all have an inner child. That inner child never goes away. It doesn't matter how old you are. And that inner child still needs attention and love. So I'm really happy that your inner child could receive that.
definitely, definitely. And I'm sure that in many cases, um, it would be a good excuse for adults to listen to this, by playing the song and the songs to their children, because in many situations, like in yours, um, adults tend to grow quite a lot when they're doing things for their children, but
Mm-hmm.
so for them to do them, they need to grow themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's really beautiful. So that's that's another reason why I wanted to recommend your song, because it's a great excuse to listen to something that connects you with gratitude
Mm-hmm.
in a really fun and playful way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also wanted to get to something else that I loved. I saw it on your Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and that too was quite in tune with everything that we're speaking about here on the Gratitude Podcast. The 10-second gratitude exercise. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my gosh, that's just an idea that I had one
It's a
day
great.
to do that, just to make a reel, because it's something that I like to do uh, when I'm feeling grateful about something. It's so easy to be grateful about something for just a split second. You can think, "Oh, I'm grateful for that," and then you move on. And when I can be aware that I'm having a grateful thought, and then just hold on to it for really longer than 10 seconds. I just wrote 10 seconds because I thought, well, if people think it's just 10 seconds, then they'll be like, okay, I can do 10 seconds, you know. But
Exactly.
really,
Yeah.
it's for however long you can, 5 minutes, 1 minute. And, but it's really hard for us to control our thoughts because our thoughts are, often they're running around like a little
Hmm.
child. So when we incorporate something physical with our bodies, it helps our minds to focus. So that's why I like to just stop what I'm doing, maybe sit down and take a deep breath, close my eyes, put my hands on my heart, smile, and all of these little things that are so simple. They bring you into the moment and they help you to focus. And then just thinking about that thing. Thank you. Thank you that I'm healthy today. Thank you that I can breathe clearly. Thank you that my kids are healthy. My husband's healthy, or just whatever it is that you're grateful for. Just taking a few moments and thinking about that. And it just feels so good. It helps to raise your vibration. And the longer you can stay in that thought of gratitude, the higher you're going to lift your vibration, the happier you're going to feel in that moment. And then it's also going to stay with you as you go on throughout your day. And I think that the more we can focus on the thoughts of gratitude, the happier we're going to be. And that's what we all want. What we all want, right, is to be happy. And gratitude is such a great way for us to get there, So yeah, I just kind of thought, okay, how can I put this little practice that I do into a quick reel? And then that's how it happened.
That's wonderful. I think it's actually the best way to go about it, because like you said, no one can say that they don't have 10 seconds to do it.
Yeah.
And at least it grabs your attention, and if you do it for more than 10 seconds, no problem.
Yeah.
But you see, it makes you be open to it, and I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you would just say, oh, I don't have the time right now.
Yeah.
I'm doing something else. I'm just scrolling around. I don't have the 10 seconds, but everyone has 10 seconds. So
everyone has 10 seconds. For sure.
I love that. And for our listeners as well, that are listening right now, I'm sure you have 10 seconds. I'm sure that you can, maybe not right now, if you're driving or something, close your eyes. You can put your hand on your heart, and just breathe and smile and breathe and feel the gratitude, because the interesting thing that happens with us humans is that we run around doing so many things in many situations because we have to, one way or another, and we just don't realize that we forget to actually live, like to actually appreciate the small, the beautiful things that we're actually working for, or we're doing the actions for.
Yeah.
And this is a great reminder to just take those 10 seconds and be with ourselves and realize that we have reasons to be grateful, and we can choose one, and or more than one, and just stay with that for a few seconds or a few minutes maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Because the beautiful part is that it actually gives you even more energy to do more things from a really different standpoint, isn't it?
Yes, totally agree.
Yeah. And the beautiful part is that just by talking about this, you get into that state.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely.
And you can feel how it shifts your perspective and your energy, and like you said, you get to experience different things or things differently.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But I'm very curious about something else that we haven't gotten into. Mm-hmm. So I love to ask this question in my interviews, because it's something that people often go through themselves. So definitely you know about gratitude, you know how to experience it. Do you remember when that shift happened from just knowing about the word gratitude and actually experiencing in your heart and really feeling it?
Oh my goodness. Reviewing all my mental files. No,
It's a tough one, right?
I can't think. I know that it was when I made the shift to self-love. And then I started reading books, and social media posts would just come up about gratitude. I do remember one thing that I read in Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. And she wrote, whenever she woke up every morning, even before she opened her eyes, she would say, "Thank you, bed, for another great night of sleep." Like, thanking her bed. Like, I was like, wow, that's like really going deep into the gratitude. Like your bed doesn't care if you say thank you to it.
Exactly.
But you are going to start your day like, yeah, wow. Like, that's the first thing that I'm thinking. Thank you, bed. Thank you, blankets. Thank you, pillows. Like, there's just so many things to think about. And when I read that, I thought, okay, I'm going to start doing that. Or maybe not thanking my bed, but just being thankful for a new day or for my family or whatever. And so I don't know. I can't think of like what made me start to feel it in my heart. But over time, I realized that the more gratitude I felt, like the more times a day I could just be grateful. Like when you think about the good things, you don't have time to think about the bad things. So like I just realized how much happier I was becoming when the more gratitude I put into my thoughts, I put into my day. And also the more good things were coming to me. And yeah, I don't know. I can't think of the specific moment, but yeah, really feeling it in my heart, I could just feel that it made me a happier person. So I just kept doing it.
Exactly. Well, that's what's most important, going through the process and seeing how it is for you and seeing the benefits and continuing with the process and trying to do it more because it just feels right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I love the example that you gave with Louis Hay and thanking the bad. And it's so interesting for me that there are so many facets to gratitude and to what we can be thankful for. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure that most of us wouldn't think to thank the bad.
No.
We would just think about other things that people usually are thankful for. But yeah, just for the bed itself, or having a bed,
Yeah.
to lie on, to become rested thanks to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that we are all experiencing.
Yes.
And I think it's one of the reasons why we forget about it, because we all have that. Maybe if we would have, I don't know, 27 room villa, maybe we would think about being grateful for that, because not everyone has something like that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we can't be thankful for these simple things that everyone has, and that's something that's normal for almost everyone nowadays.
Yeah. Yep. It's about
Yeah.
just appreciating as many little things as you can. And I would like to share another experience that I had kind of after I have made this shift, which was that one of my sons, became ill and needed surgery. And he spent 11 days in the hospital.
Oh
And it
my
was a
God.
really, really difficult time for our whole family. And I remember thinking during these moments, oh my gosh, there's just so much in our daily lives to be grateful for that we take for granted. And like all of our little problems that we have, compared to this are just nothing.
Yeah.
And it's almost 100% that everyone will experience good moments and difficult moments in life. That's just what life is all about. You got to take the bad with the good. And so when you have the good moments, to really appreciate them like, okay. And so like every day since that happened in 2021, I have in the back of my mind, like, okay, I'm just so grateful. Like he's healthy and everyone's healthy, and like just not taking those things for granted. Because when those difficult moments come, at least you can take comfort in thinking, well, I didn't take that for granted before. I appreciated the good moments so much. And now I'm going through a hard moment, but I'm even going to try to find the good in the hard moment, So that experience, although it was really difficult, it taught me an even deeper lesson about gratitude. And so, yeah, I'm grateful for that lesson, so that I don't take things for granted as much as I used to, and to really appreciate all the little things that I can throughout the day.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I love about gratitude. It's helpful when things are great, when we have things to be grateful for, or we have great experiences or out of the ordinary experiences, or we reach certain goals. We can feel very grateful and amplify that beautiful feeling of reaching a goal, for instance. But also when things are hard, it keeps us afloat. It keeps us,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And during the time that he was in the hospital, I tried to focus on the good things, like, okay, he's, there's so much uncertainty, but I'm grateful that, he's there. He is in the care of doctors. It's free. It's close by. There's a lot of little things that I could focus on to be grateful for, even though it was a very stressful situation. And that helped me a lot.
Exactly. And I think that's so important, because like you said, the reality of life is that we are going to go through difficult things, either we want it or not, or we like it or not.
Yeah.
And it's so important how we're able to go through that, and to just balance things out. Because if we, like I mentioned before, if we're just stuck in our head, and we're just thinking about all of the bad things that are going on, and the things that we need to do, it's just so hard to go through everything. But when we are able to balance things out, and just like you mentioned, to see the good parts, it just helps us just be more balanced in the situation, at least.
Yes, totally agree.
For the ones that are stronger, maybe even go on the positive side. At least in my case, just feeling balanced is just great. Enough for me. And just being able to keep that balance is something that I'm very grateful for, because it's such an important part of who we are, being able to make decisions from the best place possible at the moment.
Yeah.
Because whether we like it or not, we make many decisions every day. And if we make them from a place of lack, from a place of fear, they're going to be so different compared to the ones that come from a more balanced or even positive standpoint. And that's so, I don't know, important for us all to try to find that balance, and especially in times that aren't easy.
Yeah, for sure.
But before we end this interview, I'm very curious about something else that we didn't get to explore yet. Um, I'm very curious about the things that you've learned in Brazil and how I don't know how that touched you in relation to gratitude. Maybe you had some experiences with the locals and saw some things that they do to show their gratitude, or just things that you've seen there that um, made you feel grateful.
Mhm. Yeah, I think one of the things that comes to mind is I live in a very beautiful place. The nature is just amazing, and I've always really enjoyed being out in nature and seeing different places. And it's very different from where I grew up in Canada. I grew up in like a very rural area with a lot of farms, and the land was very flat. Uh, didn't live near the ocean. And here I live on an island uh, surrounded by green mountains and beautiful waterfalls, and there's birds and monkeys and just all kinds of things everywhere. And I really feel grateful every single day for all of the beauty around me. And that, yeah, that definitely affects my happiness and my gratitude levels. In terms of experiences with people, I guess just the friends that I've made while being here. I do a lot of musical collaborations and performances and things like that, and that always makes me feel super grateful as well because it's so fun. Yeah, I can't really think of any other personal stories with people.
Mhm.
But yeah, those are two things that come to mind.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting as well that you mentioned nature basically, and it's one of the recurring topics that we get to when
Mm-hmm.
we talk about the things that we appreciate and that make us reconnect to gratitude. And
Mm-hmm.
it's something that I always love to recommend to our listeners to go out in nature and reconnect to nature
Yeah.
whenever they can't um, get to a place of gratitude, because that, like I said, in many situations we are just in our head
Mm-hmm.
and in boxes, whether it's a car or an office or
Mm-hmm.
our homes,
Mm-hmm.
and just reconnecting to nature makes makes sense of things,
Yeah, it
and
does.
it helps us remember that we are part of something bigger. I think one of the
Yeah.
things,
Yes, absolutely. I feel
because
like
other
people here on my island are happier and more full of life. And I feel like it's because they're surrounded by so much nature and beauty, and it's easy to get out and enjoy nature, whether it's going for a walk on the beach or playing a sport or something like that. And the weather is typically very good too. It doesn't snow. There's never like a time of the year where you can't go outside because it's too cold or something like that. So I feel like that really impacts people a lot. And yeah, nature has very healing properties as well. So I I hope everyone gets to spend lots of time in nature because it's just so wonderful.
yeah, exactly, and um, in most cases it's available everywhere we are.
Yeah.
It can take it can be a park if you're
Mm-hmm.
in in a city where you might it might be harder to get to some place where you just you're just out in nature,
Yeah.
or like you said, by the ocean, by the sea, near a river. Usually there are rivers in bigger cities, so you can find that as well. And yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely believe that. And I've seen this in my experience as well when I went to different islands in my own travels. Even if people had less, they were happier
Mm,
because they were out more and they were um, connected
yeah.
with nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So we went through so many amazing topics, and I'm really happy that we got to spend this time together, Lindsay. It's
Me
been a
too.
real pleasure having you on the podcast, and um, yeah, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was so lovely. Made me feel really good.
Yeah, same here, same here. And before you go, let our listeners know where they can find you, where they can listen to your songs. Of course, I will be linking in the show description to the YouTube channel so that it's easier for our listeners to go and watch and listen. But let us know where else they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, well, if you go to my website, lindsaymuller.com, it's Lindsay, Lindsay, and Muller is Muller. It has all of my links to Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and things like that. So, yeah, and if you just search my name, Lindsay Muller, on Spotify or YouTube or wherever you listen to music, I should come up. And then you can have fun listening.
Perfect. Thank you so much once again. And I really hope that many of our listeners will be tuning in to your song, Grateful Heart, and hopefully also their children. And together we'll be able to create a world that's living with a grateful heart as much as possible. So
Yes,
thank you so
amen to
much.
that. You're so welcome.
Hey, Gratitude Seeker, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this interview. I really appreciate it. And if you could think of one person that would also benefit from it, share it with them. It might actually be the inspiration that they need to make their day or maybe even their life much better. Thank you so much once again. This has been Georgian Benta. Don't forget to keep seeking and spreading gratitude.